Hello and welcome to Heart-repreneur TV Live. I am your co-host, Velma Gallant. Super excited to be here today. I am really looking forward to today's conversation, and I'm sure you are too. We have a very special guest to share with you today. So our show title is Unleashing Your Potential, Embrace, Empower, Elevate. So as you can see, that's why this is going to be so good. Stacey Chillemi is a speaker, coach, and a 20 times best-selling author. She was chosen as one of the top 10 entrepreneurs in 2023 at Apple News, featured in Insider, Business Inside, and Yahoo News. Not only is she an entrepreneur, she has also been a guest on the Dr. Oz show 5 times, worked personally with Ariana Huffington and other celebrities, and has been on TV shows, the news, and numerous other radio shows and podcasts. Today, she is a full-time professional speaker and author, here to empower men and women to overcome their fears so that they can discover their purpose and achieve happiness and success. Welcome to the show, Stacey.
Thank you so much, Velma, for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, unleashing your potential, that is a really broad conversation, and at the same time, such an important conversation to have, because we are, and this is just my opinion, we are here to be a contribution to others. And the best way for us to do that is to be full on in our potential. What inspired you to, and I'm sure you've written on this before, but what inspired you to share about that with our show today?
You know, I've gone through a lot in life, and I base what I've learned in life, my own experiences, my own obstacles that I endured. I use those as power, my inner power. Going through life and going through so many different obstacles, I had learned to actually overcome a lot of things, and it took time. Like, I'll give you an example. At the age of 5, my parents heard a gurgling sound. It was a noise from the other room. My mom went to check on me. She saw me in a grand mal seizure, turning blue. I had a virus, and the virus had traveled to my brain and caused encephalitis. I was rushed to the hospital. They found that it actually was traveling through my brain. They induced me in a coma for 4 days. They told my parents I'd probably be paraplegic or have severe brain damage. My father, who was religious, and came from Greece, he was by my bedside, and there was one church on the island, and he was thinking of that church and how a statue they had on that church used to have teardrops roll from its eyes. And as he looked up, he said that he saw a teardrop roll from my eye. And I opened my eyes up and I said, "Can I have McDonald's French fries?" And I wasn't paraplegic. I didn't have brain damage, but I did have epilepsy. It left me with a disorder that kind of was like a roller coaster ride. And even through college, I tell the story many times. It was just, I didn't know if I was going to even be able to finish college. The stress of studying late night and just getting the grades. My seizures increased. I started working in the city. What I did was I wrote an article, and I wrote it into the Epilepsy Foundation. They had a magazine. I said, how do people overcome this disorder? I reached out for help, and I said, tell me, please publish my article. I want to hear other people's stories. 300 to 400 letters came to my house, and from all over the United States and Canada, people pouring and sharing their stories and sharing their advice. And it was wonderful. For the first time in my life, I didn't feel alone. I didn't realize that so many people go through the same thing that I go through, and that could relate to any disorder, disease, emotion. There are so many people like each of us, and we sometimes feel alone and we alienate ourselves. And I found that, I got through college. Those were motivational. Those letters kind of motivated me and also helped me create a lifestyle that helped me get through life. Their advice was really great. I started working in the city, and I started working for a big corporation. My seizures came back, and I was not able to finish the job that I was doing. And I had to stop for a while. So then I started working from home, and I started working with an herbalist. And this herbalist actually had, he wanted a lot of research and writing on different holistic living and different herbals and different ways of curing things naturally. And as I was reading and as I was researching, I said, wow, a lot of these things could actually apply to my life. And I started to, incorporate some of these things into my life. And my seizures went from 12 to 9 to 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, to the point where they were controlled. So by changing my lifestyle, holistic living, and by focusing on how to handle stress and doing things differently, I was able to actually changed my entire overall health, mentally, physically, and spiritually. And I incorporated meditation, and I did yoga. I did a whole bunch of things. And so, I got myself back on track. I got my life back on track, and I wanted to share it with the world. And I realized the things that I went through were not just for epilepsy. People all over the world with all different conditions and disorders could actually go and use the same techniques that I used and improve their mental, physical, and spiritual health. And I was like, wow, if I could teach this to others, how we can improve so many people in this world. And I wanted to be that little pea in the pod that came out and just helped the world change. And, I was just motivated by that. And I actually took all those letters and I created a book, and I used those inspirational letters, and I talked about my lifestyle change, and I created my first book, which was called Epilepsy, You're Not Alone. And it was really one of the first books that talked about coping with epilepsy. And I actually rewrote that book at the end of 22 during COVID, because things had changed so much in the world. But during that time, I actually got an email from a woman, and she said, I was on the verge of suicide. I was in Barnes and Nobles. I got your book. I followed your regimen, and you gave me the momentum, to inspiration to want to go on with my life. Thank you. You saved my life. And that's when the light bulb went off, and I was like, oh, wow, this is what I want to do with my life. I don't want to work in this city. I don't want to be this big corporate girl. I want to help people. And I just did. And what an accomplishment. What a feeling inside to be able to help someone else and to actually be able to save someone's life. And I realized at that moment, this is my purpose. And wow, the wisdom of words, how powerful it is, whether we verbalize it to people or whether we write it down on paper and we post it on the internet. This is why the world really has to watch what they write, and they have to be honest when they write, because it impacts people and it changes lives. That's why we really need to when we write things and we say things, we have to mean it from the heart, because people are listening and people are following what we say. And I realized when I did this, I started to, write books, and I started an internet, and back then we had Blogger. It was like 400 people, came to my website, and I was like, wow, this was like a free website that Google gave out at the time. Makes me feel old, but, and then then I decided to create my own website. And then I did my website went from 400 to 10,000. And then I was like, wow. And then I happened to bump into a website designer, and he needed content for his website. He goes, I'll make you a really good website. And, can you write some content for me for my, designing business? And so I did. And he created this beautiful website for me. And it went to hundreds of thousands of people that came on the website. And people and I started to just talk about all conditions. And I started to talk about holistic living. I started to talk about health and just changing lives and how we could do it. And I ended up writing 20 books, and I ended up, spending my whole life dedicated to helping others. And I really, through all of this, I realized the most important thing is embracing, going through transforming our lives, and really learning who we are and what we need to do with our lives.
I love that. Okay, so I have a lot of questions. This was amazing. So one of the things that you said earlier when you were talking about when you reached out for some help as you were experiencing the epilepsy, you realized that you weren't alone. And that's something that a lot of people will do when they're experiencing one of these types of conditions, is they feel alone and they will alienate themselves. And so I work with divorced women. And so it's the same thing. When we are exiting a marriage, we feel alone and we alienate. I know I did that. I have friends who've been divorced and they did that. We kind of cocoon. And
Yes.
so what I'm hearing is that a lot of these principles that you're teaching are life skills and lifestyle changes that anyone can implement, no
Yeah.
matter what kind of change is going on for them. And again, with your story about the woman that reached out to you and said your book made a difference and had her choose to live, that only validates it even more, that these lifestyle changes, the holistic living, the managing of our stress, the wisdom in our words and being mindful of our words, these all impact the life that we're creating. So I really love what you're up to.
Oh, thank you. This is, I made a big change during COVID. I realized that I wanted to step away from what I was doing because sometimes we get to a point in our lives where we realize we're ready for the next step. And the one thing that
Mhm.
came to me was like a revelation. And I said to myself, like you said, all those principles, can relate to almost anything if we apply them properly. So I started to do speaking, nationwide, and I started to do coaching, and I use these principles to help people, overcome obstacles, like basically overcoming obstacles and not letting obstacles overcome them, and learning how to find our true potential, our ideal self in life, because that's what it's about. It's about looking at ourselves now, looking at where we want to be, creating a strategic plan, implementing that plan, rising above the chaos, and then gaining the self-esteem and the courage to act on it so we can move forward in life and be the person we want to be. So we can look in the mirror and say, I like the person in that mirror. I could do anything, and feel that empowerment just rush through your blood and just say, I have the power to do anything I put my mind to. And we all could get to that point. Many people don't feel like they have the ability, or they don't feel they're worthy of it, but we do. We have that power within us. And that's why I talk about releasing the power within you, because we all carry that power. It's connecting with our mind, body, and soul.
So when it comes to overcoming our obstacles, what are some of the things that you, because I know you talk about thinking differently about our problems. So let's dig into that just a little bit more. How can we change our perspective when it comes to some of these obstacles or problems, whatever we want to label them?
Well, the first thing is denial. I feel like many people don't want to actually accept that they have a problem. They realize deep down inside that something's not right, that they do have an issue that they have to face, but many people would rather put it behind them and make believe it's not there. But what happens is that the problem still exists. Whether you focus in on it or not, the problem is still there. It's not going to go away. What happens usually is the problem becomes bigger, and it becomes and gravitates into something larger, and then we have more issues to deal with. And a lot of what happens is we have a lot of repressed emotions that build up, and we have other things that occur. So really it's focusing on facing that denial stage, facing the problem, overcoming the fear, of what's going to happen if I face this problem. What am I going to become? Am I going to experience failure? Am I, all these different things depending on the problem. So one, overcoming denial. Two, accepting that there is an issue, and just learn that this is part of who I am. It's part of my life, no matter what. Once you accept that there's a problem and you face that problem, it's in your life. Nobody is perfect, and I hate when they use that word perfect, because it shouldn't even be in the dictionary, because we all have something in life. And the media makes everything pretty and everything looks perfect, and the TV makes everything look perfect because they only show the good things, or they show the very bad things for rating. But it's really, there, everybody has something in life, and you're no different than the person next to you. And you shouldn't compare yourself, because you don't know where that other person's been. You haven't walked through their shoes, and they can be on level 38 and you could just be beginning, and you can't compare yourself to somebody else. And you shouldn't listen to what other people say. Deep down inside, you have to find yourself, and you have to really have self-awareness, and it's developing that self-awareness, diving deep into yourself and embracing yourself, realizing who you are and where you want to go in life. What will make you happy, and what will make you feel successful as a person. And then writing down on a piece of paper who you are right now as a person. What are your characteristics? Who do you see yourself as? And be honest with yourself, because honesty is the only policy. Don't lie to yourself. Write it down. Nobody's going to see it. And then write who you really would like to be as a person. Where would you really like to go as a person? And then create short-term and long-term goals. And this is my strategic plan, I call it, setting little baby step goals, and then setting long-term goals to give yourself the motivation of where you want to be in the future. And then start trying each day to accomplish at least one goal, and give yourself a pat on the back. Things come in time. We are, a society that has become got to do it real quick. You see the 30-day challenge. You see, you could do this in 3 days. You can't. It takes time. Everything takes time. If you want quality takes time. If you want success, it takes time. If you want to become the person you always wanted to be, your ideal self, it's going to take time, but you will get there. And you, at the end, you will be happy with the person you become. And it's painful. It's not, look digging deep into yourself and really hitting those pain points and being honest with yourself is a struggle, because you really, when you see who you are and you're not always happy with what turned out, it could, going through all those little issues and problems that are holding you back is sometimes hard. And sometimes we don't even know why we feel the way we feel. It's repressed emotions, and it's journaling and getting those things out, and setting goals and setting strategic plans, and just little things that you would do each day, like the meditating in the morning. Clear your mind, clear the noise out, clear what you have to do, clear the world around you. Put a nice little candle, maybe scented, something to relax you, or a little soft music in the background, and just clear your mind. And sometimes the answers just roll through your head. All of a sudden you hear this little voice in you, and I call it the little intuition. Our spiritual self kind of talks to us when we let it. And listen to what your body's telling you. Your body's always giving you signals. And then just starting to write things down on paper, creating that strategic plan, moving forward. And then you'll start to see, as you create and you start to accomplish things, you start to see change. You're going to start to see growth and development, and you're going to start to see a boost in your self-esteem. And that's going to lead you even further to the road of success and happiness that you want to really feel.
Love that. There's a lot of juicy stuff in there. And I agree with you. Like when you're talking about the denial of problems, I like to say they ferment.
Yes, just like a good Italian sauce.
Right? So we don't want to be, sweeping things under the carpet and stuff like
No,
that. I like that that you're inviting your clients to face it. Notice that what they're afraid of is probably not as big as they think it is, and then
right.
leading that into the acceptance of what is. Because again, and this is an analogy that's used all the time, you can't map your way from here to there if you have no idea where here is.
Yes, exactly. 100%. 100%.
I
And that's
also like that you're inviting people to journal about these things, like write down who you see yourself as you are now, and writing down who you want to be,
right.
and then taking a good look at what would it take for me to get from here to there, and
Yeah.
start taking those small actions on that. I really appreciate the idea of using your journaling or writing to be able to do that. And I know too, you said earlier, be mindful of those words. So when we're writing down what it
Yeah.
is that we want to achieve and where we want to go, who we want
Right.
to be, being mindful of those words when we do that.
100%. Like I'm so serious about it that I even created a journal, the positivity and gratitude journal. That's how much I love journaling and how powerful I think it is, because really that's where the answers kind of come sometimes. And it comes out of you and you put it on paper, and it helps you see things clearer, because our mind can only hold so much information. And if you have sources of information coming from all different directions, because our life is consumed with so many different things, how could you really clearly think what you need for yourself? And so many people, unfortunately, put themselves last, when really you need to give
Mhm.
yourself self-love and put yourself above everyone else, because how can you help others if you can't help yourself?
Well, and that's it, like if we are here to make a difference and to provide that hand up for others, we need to be up.
Yes,
We need to
100%.
be up there to lift somebody else up to us. So
Yeah,
I love what you're sharing there, and I'm hearing. Um, I'm finding this quite validating for myself, and I'll be quite honest with you, because a lot of the things that you're sharing are things, like I've got my morning processes, like my mornings, just about the whole thing is a meditation, right? Like I go
yeah,
for a walk. I don't have my phone with me. I don't have earbuds in. It's just me and nature. And I
yes,
do find that it's those times where some of the really cool ideas come in. And then there's I do my journaling process next. And again, same thing. Then I move on to I do a meditation, and I like habit stacking.
yeah.
So I meditate, I lay on have my feet on a grounding mat, and I do red light therapy all at the same time.
I love red light therapy. It's very relaxing. I actually have it. I use it, and what a difference. Yes, yes.
So I found it very validating, and I look forward to hearing from some of our listeners and people who are watching live, whether it's on the replay app too. What are some of those morning processes that you put in place that support you with staying grounded and making sure that you're thinking about your problems just a little bit differently? I'd love to see that in the comments. So one of the things that is prevalent in today's world is stress. Now, we've talked about meditation, and you've mentioned things like yoga and stuff like that. What are some things that people can do to support themselves with stress management?
I think with people sometimes we tend to look at the little things, and we tend to over exaggerate them. If it's and then one of the biggest things I see, that people worry about things that haven't even become a problem yet.
Mm,
Instead of focusing in the present, we have to realize the past is the past. We can't change the past. The past is we learn from the past, and we gain experience, we gain knowledge, and we gain strength from our past experiences, but we can't change them. So why dwell on the past and any mistakes that we've made, or anything that, has not been really positive in our life? We can't change it, but we can make peace with it. We can learn from it, and we can grow as a person. So we have to focus really on the now. A lot of people think about, oh my God, this could happen. If this happens, could happen in the future. This might happen. And they worry about the future when we're never going to, we have 24 hours in a day. Why waste those 24 hours that you're never going to get back? Focus on the present and make the best of that day possible. Because, so many people take everything for granted. We're a very blessed country, and we have to realize that, we have to focus on the present and enjoy our lives, because sometimes people don't realize how valuable the little things in life are until they're taken away from us. And we really need to focus on the present. And if we have problems in the present, if you ever notice that no matter what you go through in life, we do get through our problems. It takes time, but we always get through it somehow, some way. The problems do, they do kind of surface. We go through our ups and we go through our downs in life. And as the problem is occurring, we have to, how could you fix a problem if you're in a frenzy. You can't. So you have to really take a deep breath. And I like to encourage slow breathing exercises. Just taking a deep breath in, the good air in, the bad air out through the mouth, and relaxing and trying to slow down that heart rate and trying to realize that there is a solution, and trying to really calm ourselves down to the point where, what can that solution be? What can I do to make this better? And, not worrying that, sometimes problems take a while to solve. Sometimes they, changes may occur because of problems, but we're still here and we're still living. And there are a lot of things out there and a lot of people out there that have it worse. So let's just focus on trying to make the best of it. And easier said than done, people are going to say, but I also suggest, they have herbs called passion flower. They also, you can, you have, common sense that, like lavender that can relax you. Take some time out and maybe take a bath and put some Epsom salts with flavors in them. Trying to just focus on the important things in life that have to be addressed, and not focus on always the little things. And also, trying to not always focus on the negative. The power of positivity will get you through everything. Looking at every problem I've been through, I've always pulled something positive out of that problem. Okay, this occurred. Now, what did I gain from this? And I've always gained either strength, experience, knowledge, something that has, made me a better person. And sometimes we have these problems that come into our lives, and they actually, in the end, it actually made us a better person somehow, and people don't realize that, and you always have to try to focus on the positive. And sometimes we have negativity around us. We have negative people around us that kind of pull us down. They're like vacuums, I call them. They suck all the good energy out of you. And if you have people always saying negative things, you kind of pulls you down, So I tend to say, if you have negative people in your life kind of pulling you down, to try to, you don't have to alienate those people and not ever bother with them, but separate yourself a little from those negative people and try to focus on more positive people that are going to bring you up and bring you to a higher level. Because really, the power of positivity is what gets you through life. And when you have good energy around you and good people around you, it brings even more positive energy. And the people who we associate with plays a big role in the people that we become, because the energy, that they give off really affects us more than we can ever imagine. So it's really important that you surround yourself with people that that you can trust, that you can love, that people that if you fall, who's going to be there to catch you? Who's going to give you support? And that's another other way, is stay away from those negative people, and always don't try to be the savior. A lot of people try to run to everybody and try to, we can only, if someone wants help, they're going to ask for it. I've learned from the past, because me always trying to help people, I've learned that not everybody wants help. And if they don't want help, they're not going to take it. They're not going to use it. Don't try to always be a people pleaser. Try to, if people need your help and you're able to do it, you could do it. And sometimes you can't, but it's okay to say no. We can only do what we can do. You can't put yourself over the limit, and some people give themselves too much responsibility. Try to focus on giving yourself enough of responsibility that is healthy and not going to burn you out, because so many people in our society go through burnout. And and being around people and showing love and showing gratitude and being and having gratitude for the things around us. I think we lack gratitude sometimes in life. We lack, be happy for the air you can breathe outside, the trees around us, the beauty that we have. People take these things for granted, and then when things disappear, then people, are saddened, because then they didn't realize how worth someone may have been in their life, or, and also I talk about forgiveness a lot. People, if they have people in their life and they have a lot of resentment and anger, and so many people carry resentment and anger, I always tell people, it's time to forgive. You don't have to hear the word "I'm sorry" from the other person, but you do have to working on forgiving people for what they've done to you in the past. Like I said, the past is the past, and you can forgive them. You could say, all right, this person did this X, Y, and Z. It wasn't right, but I know that this person was going through this, or might have some mental health issues, or might have been, from a dysfunctional family, whatever the case may be. We can go down the line, but I forgive them for their unhealthy acts or from whatever their, verbalization that was negative, that hurt my feelings. I forgive them and let it go. Put it on a piece of paper, maybe, and burn it. Put it in a letter, in an envelope. If you have a little fire pit outside, put it in the fire pit. If you, light a little match and just easily burn it in the fireplace, put it in the fireplace if you have one. It's just like, just get rid of it, put it in the shredder and just let it go. And once you start forgiving, I've learned from my own experience, it's harder to hold that pain and anger and resentment. It pulls us down so much in life, and that can also help hurt someone from becoming their ideal person, for someone to transition in to feel that joy and happiness. These are all little components in life, and everything we go in through life, there's always a root cause why we're at and why we're stagnant in life. And it's finding those root causes and then fixing those root causes.
There again, there was a lot of juicy stuff in there. I love that you started with the reminder that we've got 100% success rate of getting through our problems. I think the only thing that stops us is the expectation that our resolution has to be a specific way.
Yes.
I love that you provided some ideas on how to support ourselves with those things so that we can hear that still small voice, the slow breathing, passion flower, lavender, Epsom salt bath, some some of those things that help us to ground so that we can actually hear that still small voice that will give us the solutions to the problems that we have. Minimizing exposure to negativity. That one is huge. We don't need to be around that. We can love people from a distance.
Yes.
And just, be mindful of how much exposure that we give. And I loved what you shared about forgiveness. I know I'm missing some of the stuff that you covered there, but I think forgiveness is a really big one. One of my favorite definitions is remembering without hurting anymore.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
so that's something that I've played with a lot in my life and something that I share in the work that I do as well. So lots and lots of juicy stuff in there. We're at the end of our time. This one is one that is worth re-listening to. So get your notebook out, write down the ideas that you have from this time that we've spent with you, and you're going to get some really great stuff. I want to make sure, though, before we leave, that you know how to find Stacey. So she does have a website, staceychillemi.com. It's up there on the screen. And if you are part of Heart-repreneurs with Terry Levine, we will have the link in the comments for you so that you can go check her out. I truly appreciate your time today, Stacey. There was so much juiciness in this conversation. Very grateful.
Thank you. I'm glad. And I hope, I help some of the people out there, your listeners, because, there's so much, that we could tap into. Today was just, just a small, surface of it. And, but there are so many things we could do to better ourselves, to bring ourselves happiness and joy. We have to be willing, and there is a way. When you're willing, there's always a way. And never say that you can't, because you can. And never say should, say I will. It's the verbiage we use and the way we think that plays a toll on our lives.
Absolutely. And gives us the possibility of creating that potential that you've been speaking of. So
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks so much for your time again, Stacey. And thanks to you out there in YouTube land and in the Facebook group. We really appreciate you. Definitely share with us what it is that made a difference for you, what stood out for you. We'd love to see that in the comments. And for those of you in YouTube land, come on over to Facebook. Look up Heart-repreneurs with Terry Levine. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Have a brilliant day.